Hey Moglets, it's kind of late here, so I can't talk super loud, but I just got done recording the outro to this video. I'm just doing the intro to again. I didn't hit the record button. Very poggers, I know. I've been doing this for a long time now, and I still forget to hit the record button. I just looked over there to OBS and it said start recording. I'm like, huh, isn't that something? But anyway, hi Moglets. I wanted to talk about artifacts today, and that they are a big, big lie. And I'm not just unlucky. The game is rigged. Always has been. I got an email a couple of weeks ago from what I assume is a fan. I'd like to read you that email for the second time now. Andrew says, Moga, perhaps not the best place for me to contact you, but I was watching some of your older videos after coming back to Genshin, and you were stating how you always seem to roll more defense/health than other stats. That was 9 months ago, but just in case you weren't aware, main and substat roll probabilities are not equal. The statistics are tabulated at the wiki link below if you're interested. So I went and took a look at those. I saw some numbers I wasn't really happy with, so I went directly into cope mode and was like, where's the source, bro? You know, these are just numbers on a screen. I say, hi, Andrew, thanks for this. I've heard this before, but they never told me the source. But yeah, I asked if he knew where the wiki grabbed the info from, like a data mine or a large sample size, etc. And he gets back to me, he says, I'm looking around and cannot find the source at that the wiki pulls from. Most sources do corroborate the numbers. The sister page of the artifact stat distribution page, the artifact stat roll values, is sourced from a data mine. Given by the precision of the values to the 100th place, it is likely the stat distributions are from a data mine. So I do tend to believe it actually. So what we're talking about first is the main stat of the artifact. The chance to get a specific main stat on an artifact from a drop. Of course, flowers and plumes always have flat HP and flat attack, so they never change. There's no RNG there. But we're gonna start with stands here, and here is the little info box. It's already a little sus that HP percent, attack percent, def percent have a much, much higher chance to drop than energy recharge and elemental mastery. But on the other hand, it is somewhat understandable and somewhat acceptable because until somewhat recently, at least HP percent and attack percent were pretty commonly found on a lot of units, so it's fine they have a high chance. Nowadays though, it's getting a lot more common to see characters that want elemental mastery sands. But like I said, you know, it's understandable, not too bad. Of course, getting energy recharge and elemental mastery sands is going to be quite a bit harder. That 10% chance makes it feel like you're competing with 10 different main substats rather than the truth, which is 5. So yeah, I mean, basic math, if you're looking for an elemental mastery sands, you're going to get one out of every 10 on average, which kind of sucks. But that is nothing. Absolutely nothing compared to goblets. Oh my god. You know how goblets have like 67 different main stats they can have? Okay, it's like 12 or whatever. But the 3 most useless ones, HP percent, attack percent, and def percent, account for nearly 60% of all drops. Where does that leave the other 9 stats? The actual useful element damage bonus stats? 5% each. And then Elemental Mastery Goblet down there at 2.5%. There aren't that many characters that want an Elemental Mastery Goblet, but if you happen to stumble across one, I would probably keep it. So that was a bit of a shocker. I mean, I always felt that I got way more HP, attack, and def percent goblets than anything else, but seeing it here at nearly 20% each compared to the 5% element, that's just dumb because there is such a small amount of characters that actually want HP, attack, or def percent. Anyway, moving on to circlet of logos, the trend kind of continues. 22% chance each for the, in almost all cases, very bad main stat of a HP, attack, and def. Very sad 10% for the actual good crit stats and healing bonus, and then 4% for elemental mastery. I can even almost understand circlets, like, okay, you know, crit rate, crit damage, healing bonus, they're all kind of special stats, you know? They're kind of hard to get. Maybe it should be kind of rare. But then, like, why the goblets though? It doesn't need to be artificially lower than it already would be with 12 different stats. No one out there looking for an HP percent goblet. Almost. There might be like 1 or 2 characters, I don't know. Not saying attack and HP goblets shouldn't exist, but they shouldn't have a 4 times higher chance to drop than a pyro damage goblet or whatever. Moving on from that, we're going to talk about substats. You can have nearly every substat on every piece except for whatever the main stat is on that piece. So you can't have an attack percent substat on an attack percent sands. And what you're seeing here is pretty much the same thing. It's the chance that this substat will appear on a fresh artifact you just farmed from a domain, not the chance that it will roll into the stat as you're raising it. And the trend basically continues from the main stats. It just hurts even more because the flat attack and defense is specifically higher chance than the percentage versions. it's just like objectively worse. Thus, of course, it has a higher chance to happen. Like, why? I thought it was so funny every time I got a triple flat, like, dang, that's actually pretty low chance, you know, to get 3 artifacts and they're all the flat versions, you know, but it's just like that. The chance wasn't even that low because the flat stats have the highest chance of being there. Obviously no flat HP on Flower because it's the main stat. No flat attack on Plume because it's the main stat. But of course we can see the most desirable stats, the crit stats, at the bottom at 7.89% each. Same story with Sands, but of course that does change a little bit depending on what main stat you have, because again, it can't have that in the substat. But yeah, same trend. Lowest chance for any of the crit stats, and then second lowest chance for anything that could possibly be good, and the highest chance for the worst stuff. Goblet follows the same trend, although it gets a little bit weird because if you have an element/physical damage bonus, that isn't a substat anyway, which means it kind of adds an extra stat here, which basically makes all chances lower. And this will be the most realistic for most characters because most characters have an element damage goblet. So not only are you competing with the most main stats by far, but also the most substats, giving the crit stats a pitiful 6.8% chance each of existing on your goblet. Again, pretty much the same story with the circlet of logos, 7.3% chance to have the other crit stat. So yeah, everything is starting to make a little bit more sense. I thought the RNG was already really bad while thinking all the chances are equal, but damn, this is a whole nother level. Then we have the substat value. I already knew about this, but it is pretty interesting. And this is cause for a little bit of celebration. Let's just pay attention to this little info box here as it concerns 3, 4, and 5-star artifacts. But basically you have equal chance to get 70 or 100% of the max roll value. And for those that aren't aware, I'll explain what that is. Let's just go back to Genshin. So let's take a look at this non-upgraded Sands right here. If we just take a look at the crit rate here, you can see it has 3.9%. Again, has not been upgraded anything. Here we have another Sands that has crit rate on it, but as you can see, it only has 2.7%. This is the difference between 70% or that 2.7 crit rate and 100% or the 3.9. And at least with this, it's all an equal chance to happen. I would of course prefer that all of them were just 100% of max, or I don't know, 80% of max or 90% of max, instead of there just being another layer of RNG there. But it is what it is. And if you're curious, here are all the different possible roll values. I'm only gonna look at the 5-star column because that's the only artifacts I raise. But as you can see, if we go down here to crit rate, that 2.7 being the lowest and the 3.89 rounded up actually in the game to be a 3.9. And that is a significant difference, which I can demonstrate with the calculator right here. Let's say, for example, you were unlucky, but also kind of lucky. You know, you got an artifact, it starts with 4 subs, which means you can get 5 rolls into crit rate, but they are all the lowest rolls. At the end of the day, you're left with 13.6 crit rate, but then all of a sudden, Billy McBitch comes along, he gets the same artifact as you, rolls the same amount of times into it. But what's this? It's 3.89%. He has 19.5 crit rate on the same exact artifact. You have 13.6. Billy could have actually rolled only 4 times into crit rate and still had more crit rate than you. Granted, either of those scenarios actually happening is an incredibly low chance, so I wouldn't worry about it too much, but yeah, it's something to be aware of, I guess. This is one thing I was definitely not expecting, at least if I understand this correctly. Substat slot upgrade. When the artifact already has 4 subs, the chance for it to roll into a specific slot is the same. Upon first reading all this information, I was actually under the assumption that when I would go to raise this artifact, it would also have a much higher chance to go into HP rather than one of these other 3, crit damage or element mastery. But according to that information we just looked at, it has an equal chance to go into all 4 of these stats. And after seeing that, it kind of made me wonder, like, what the email guy was talking about, because most of the time I'm complaining is when I'm actually raising artifacts and they're all just going into the trash subs. There's like 1 or maybe 2 trash subs there, and it just boom, laser focuses onto them. And I was like, okay, it all makes sense now. But now it kind of doesn't again. I mean, granted, I'm sure I complain a lot while I'm actually farming artifacts as well and being like, damn, I can't find the stat I want. And that's most likely what he was referencing, because all of this information and the probabilities and the chances basically only affects farming and the actual drop of artifacts. Once you actually get a good artifact, then you just have to deal with what I thought the whole artifact process was, which was unbiased RNG and chances. Also, as a side note, it could be I'm thinking that I mostly complain while raising them because it just hurts more. It hurts a lot more now, actually, after learning all of this, because I beat the odds, you know? I got whatever this is, an attack percent with double crit lines. That's already kind of rare, you know, in my eyes now. And then I go to enhance it and it rolls trash. Boom, there's a rare artifact, turned it into dust. So now I'm gonna feel less justified complaining while I'm farming because the odds are just stacked against me and everyone else really. Might be more justified to complain about farming actually because they did that on purpose. They're giving you the bad artifacts on purpose. I'm gonna complain right now. Just damn it, Genshin. Why you do this? Anyway, I think that was about it. I forgot if I added anything else into the other video. I probably rambled about something at one point, but whatever. If I don't even remember what I was talking about, it probably wasn't that important. Make sure to tell me what you think in the comments down below. Dropping a like or subscribing if you enjoy is always greatly appreciated as well. Thanks, as always, for watching, and until next time. I'm actually recording now. Yes, it says stop recording now. That's good.